Hello, everybody, and welcome into another playoff preview show here at the Hockey Writers. And this time we're going to the Western Conference Final. We did the Eastern Conference Final. It's already out on the YouTube channel if you want to check that out. But we're going to do Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers into the, Edmonton Oilers. Two out of the last 3 years are now in the Western Conference Final. We'll see if they can get by this time. They didn't the last time, got kicked by the eventual Stanley Cup champions. So, Jacob Strozyk, Jacob Billington here with me, talking Oilers and Stars. Strozyk is going to take over the Stars, and Billington will take the Edmonton Oilers. So, gentlemen, how's it going?
Good. Happy to be here. Excited to watch some really fun playoff hockey. I think we're in that zone now.
Yeah, this series should be good. I don't know. There are some people that are saying the Stars are going to just steamroll the Oilers, and but the Oilers have some pretty high firepower. The two top scorers in the playoffs right now are Draisaitl and McDavid. So they're going to be tough. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'll start. Well, let's just get going and start with the Dallas Stars because they were the first ones going through. Beat the Colorado Avalanche. It was a little iffy at times, but the Stars kind of figured it out. The Avalanche came back a couple times. They were a bit of the comeback team, but then once they lost Nichushkin, I think they kind of fell. I mean, he was one of the leading scorers in the playoffs and still is. And now he's done for the next 6 months, I believe. So, Jacob, run us through the Dallas Stars series against the Avalanche, how they got to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they would really be steamrolling through anything because you're right. It was a little bit shaky against the Avalanche because they're still a very solid team, still a very deep team. But against the Avalanche, they were still very good. Yeah, I can't say that they were a bad team by any means. They still had everything kind of going very well for them. They scored 3 goals in the first game, 5 goals in the second one, 4, 5, 3, and then they finished off with 2 goals. So, the offense was doing pretty well. Defense was okay. Jake Ottinger looked pretty good. He had a couple of shaky moments, but all in all, they were looking solid. But again, they weren't looking dominant like people were probably expecting them to. So, you could probably say there's a bit of a chink in the armor. So it's maybe a point of vulnerability there as far as the Stars are concerned, but it's nothing that they can't handle. The Avalanche are a high flying offense team, so they're going to be dealing with that type of problem again here with the Oilers. It's
Mhm.
all offense all day, but it's multiplied to 11 dealing with two of the best players in the world. So it's can they handle that type of onslaught that's really going to be flying at them at the fastest possible
Mhm.
speed here. So it's really going to come down to how well are they going to adjust to the same type of play but a different pace of play,
Mhm.
because it's similar but it's not the same, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they're going now up against the next. They played against Nathan McKinnon, and now they're going up against Connor McDavid, two ridiculously fast players and different types of speed though between the two guys. I mean they're both they both are probably two of the best skaters in the NHL, but they're different in speeds. It's hard to explain how they are, but they are. It's different. So over to you, Jacob, about the Edmonton Oilers. And I mean, yeah, Connor McDavid has been really good. He hasn't scored a ton though. He's only got, I think, 2 goals in the playoffs. He's got a bunch of assists. But it's Draisaitl. It's a Draisaitl show right now. He's been scoring at a pretty big clip. Power play, of course, has been ridiculous for the Oilers. Run us through how they did against the Canucks. I mean, there was iffy. They could have got eliminated in Game 6, but then ran off 2 straight wins to move on here.
Yeah, it was a really interesting series. And I mean, first of all, you mentioned that they have the two top scorers in the playoffs. They actually have the four top scorers in the
Right.
playoffs with Evan Bouchard and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins in there as well. It's just absolutely insane. So their offense is the key to victory for them. Like that's how they beat the Canucks, even though their offense wasn't as kind of like forefront and center as people were expecting to see, especially with a rookie goaltender in nets. We were just talking about that. But it was a tough series, and I don't think that people looked at that series and said that Edmonton deserved to win that 100%. I think it was that by the time it got to game 7, it was a coin flip. And Stuart Skinner ultimately showed up and did his job. And that's something that they're really going to need here as well. So it wasn't an easy series for them. They had the offense from their top guys, need a little bit more out of the depth. But other than that, they're kind of rolling right now after those 2 wins in a row. I think that they're in a good position to be headed into this series.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's saying with the Dallas Stars that they're one of the deepest teams in the NHL, and they are. I mean, they've got 4 lines that can come at you. They got some young guns, they got some veterans. One guy that hasn't really stood out to me is Joe Pavelski yet. I mean, maybe he'll do it in this series, but he's usually really dominant in the playoffs, and I haven't really noticed him. It's been the Wyatt Johnston show. I mean, throughout. Yeah. So let's move on to that, Jacob. Some players to watch. Johnston definitely has been everything that everyone's been asked for since. I mean, even last year he was really good in the playoffs, and he's really young. Still, he's got 7 goals so far. Is that the guy you're watching for sure, or are you going to look at guys like Pavelski, like the depth moving through it? Even Miro Heiskanen on defense has been otherworldly too this playoff, so should be a good matchup between defensemen too. Bouchard against Heiskanen.
I mean, yeah, you're always going to be looking at your top end scores for just about anything, and it's been the Wyatt Johnston show. He's been an absolute just dynamo. He's been a big story type player throughout the entire playoffs for the Stars the entire time. So absolutely he's somebody to watch. But, you want somebody like a Joe Pavelski to be stepping up in this type of a scenario. He's your veteran. He's one of your more reliable guys that you should be leaning on in this type of a scenario. Somebody like Matt Duchene, who scored your big goals. He's somebody who could step up and do a little bit more. A little bit more down the lineup. You want to try and be relying on those, older players to be doing those, to be making veteran plays, to be making those, clutch, to be in those clutch situations and actually be contributing in those scenarios that you need them to. So having Joe Pavelski step up and do something, having Matt Duchene step up and do a little something, having somebody like Tyler Seguin jump up. He's been playing well. He's got 8 points and he's a +7, so he's been doing well. Having him do a little bit more on top of that, Jamie Benn has also been doing well. He's got 8 points so far. So the veterans that you would expect to be doing something are, and then there are others that you want to do a little bit more. It's going to become more of a factor in a series like this. You're going to need them to step up. And then your usual suspects, your Heiskanen, your Robertson, your Johnson, they're already up there at the top, and they need to continue to perform up to the standard that you're expecting them to.
Another guy just to shout is Chris Tanev, who's been really good defensively, blocking shots like he always does.
Unsung hero.
Upwards of 22 plus minutes. I don't know if I expected him to be the big minute muncher in this series, but he's been, and I always loved Tanev. So I'm hoping he signs with the Canucks in the offseason and he'll come over here again. But yeah,
well,
he's
talking really minute muncher. That's Heiskanen. He's at, I think it was 28:02 was his average ice time right now.
He's playing
so it's ridiculous.
So Evan Bouchard versus Miro Heiskanen, that should be a good matchup. They're both doing really well in the playoffs here. So moving on to that with the Oilers, Jacob, about like Evan Bouchard. Obviously we're going to watch McDavid and Draisaitl, who've been really good, but like you mentioned, the depth wasn't very prominent against the Canucks. They were in the game 6 and 7. They started to kind of looking like Evander Kane had some goals. You're looking at Janmark had a goal, I believe, in game 5. So they started to get a little bit, but who are you watching? Is that going to be the guys, the depth on the Oilers?
Well, I think they're going to need to play big. I think it's not all about offense with those guys. That's kind of how the Oilers are built. The top guys are going to get offense. I mean, you look at Zach Hyman, his 11 goals are tied with, I think if you put Jason Robertson, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, Matt Duchene all together, they have 11 goals. Zach Hyman has 11 goals. And then you can add Joe Pavelski's 1 goal. And so those 5 really good players have 1 more goal than Zach Hyman. So the Oilers aren't going to be looking for their high-end scoring to really make any change. They're doing their job. They need the bottom six to keep playing that, because they did play well against Vancouver. They just weren't scoring much, which they could have used against Vancouver. But they just need to keep playing strong hockey and let the top guys figure it out. I mean, Evan Bouchard is the first defenseman in NHL history with 20 points headed into the third round. Like, that's absolutely insane. So just the bottom six playing defensive hockey and being trustworthy and reliable, I think that's all you really need from them.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, it'd be good to have some production from them too.
Right.
And, especially in those tight games, which I think this series is probably going to be another tight series. There's probably won't be any blowouts. Yeah, it's interesting how the Oilers have played better defensively in the last few games of that series, where they're blocking shots. They're playing really tough, low shot type hockey, low event hockey, right? And that's something not known for the Oilers, that defense and goaltending is usually the problem. Goaltending is probably a question mark still, but we'll get to that. Let's go on to some keys to victory. And I mean, I'll stay with you with the Oilers, Jacob, on how are the Oilers going to get through the Stars? I mean, their power play has been probably going to be the biggest difference in this series, but really, can they rely on that to win? What are the keys to victory for them?
I think there's only really one key to victory, and that's Stuart Skinner. He has to play adequate hockey. That's it. Like, they don't need him to be like Igor Shesterkin, or like, if you look at the stats, Joseph Woll, he has absolutely incredible numbers just in the couple of games that he played in the first round. But like, they don't need anything like that. They don't need to be the best goaltending team in the league.
Yeah.
They just need, all right, you can make a couple saves here. That's all they need. And if he can do that, then I think this series is in the bag for the Oilers.
That is the biggest thing, because Skinner was pulled. Pickard played a couple really good games. But I don't think they want to rely on him. It's going to be Skinner, and especially against a guy like Ottinger, who's been really good in the playoffs here too, and can definitely steal a series. So that's going to be key. What about the Stars, Jacob, with them? I mean, Ottinger's obviously, between the two goaltenders, he's the better one. What's going to be the key to victory for the Stars in this one?
It is locking down the sad excuse for the penalty kill, because the Oilers are the pinnacle of what a power play is.
Yeah.
Running at, I think it's like 38% or something ridiculous right now. They're almost at like 40%. And the Stars PK is at 69.2%. So put those two things together and it's a recipe for disaster. And I know you said that there might not be blowouts, but I don't know if there might not be blowouts, but it's a recipe for a barn burner if you get power plays left and right. And if Stuart Skinner is, letting in goals left and right, it's going to be barn burners. So it's going to be a difficult situation if the power play for Edmonton is rolling and the penalty kill for Dallas is not on par for any sort of thing. So they really need to lock down their penalty kill more than anything else and figure something out, and literally anything, because sub 70% is just unacceptable for a playoff hockey team. And for a team that is as well defensively structured as the Stars, it's embarrassing at this point for them to be running something like that. So they're going to get picked apart if at any point Edmonton is running a power play. And if it happens early, we're going to be looking at 3-0, 4-0 hockey games by the end of a first period. And that's just something that's supremely difficult to recover from. So, and that's probably the biggest factor for me is going to be special teams. If they get a power play, it's going to be huge. Because if they can get to Skinner early, it might help them. But at this point, it would just be to save themselves from if they ended up taking a penalty themselves and being able to be like, all right, we scored power play goal ourselves. Now we can take a penalty and it'll be 1-1. So it's finding that balance and figuring out how to not take penalties. Staying out of the box, I guess, is the best solution for them at this point.
I will chime in and just say a sub 70 PK percentage is terrible. But what does make up for it a little bit is they do have, I believe, 2 or 3 shorthanded goals. So that helps a little bit.
Yeah, a little. The thing is with the Oilers, I mean, they seem to be able to score in almost every one of their power plays. They were in a little bit of a drought in the last couple games where the Canucks were able to kill a bunch of them. They started figuring out different ways of how they were doing things, and but they did score a power play goal in Game 7. And the thing is if your team and the Canucks didn't score on the power play. And that's the thing. And if you have a bad power play and you take penalties against the Oilers, you're probably going to lose because they can score one. I think the one in the Kings games, they won 1-0, but the only goal they scored was on the power play. So
yeah,
it's a big key to their success. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. Just stay out of the box. It's hard to do. Even if you just think, oh, we only took 2 penalties, but we got scored on both of them. So that doesn't really help. So maybe that doesn't even help.
The Oilers are averaging over a power play goal per game. They have 15 power play goals in 12 games.
It just stay out of the box. That's probably the best advice to give the Stars, any team going against them. Because their offense 5-on-5 isn't as strong. So I mean, if you can stay out of the box, you're gonna have a better chance of winning. I think that's any team, but against the Oilers is the biggest thing. All right, let's move on to some X factors. I'll start with you with the Oilers, Jacob, on what's an X factor in this series for them.
I already talked about the goaltending, so I'll kind of skip over that a little bit. But that is number one for sure. But that would just be repeating myself. Just the Stars staying hot. Over the last 5 games, Connor McDavid only had 2 assists. You need him to be a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
4 assists. You need him to be a little bit better than that. I mean, 4 assists is nothing to complain about. And obviously, when you got Draisaitl, I think he had 8 points in his last 5 games against the Canucks. That's fantastic. I don't know. There's not really one glaring thing outside of the goaltending. I think it's just the top guys staying hot, and maybe a couple like Evander Kane or Dylan Holloway kind of picking up a little bit of the extra slack and whatnot. But I already mentioned with the bottom 6, they don't need to be lighting the lamp. They only had 2 goals in the last 5 games of that series, so you need maybe another 1 or 2 out of them. But it's really hard to complain about. They're blocking their shots. They're having good defensive coverage. They're doing fine. That bottom 6 is pretty good. So just a little bit of offense from the bottom 6, I would say, and goaltending.
Yeah, the biggest X factor for the Oilers is the goaltending because yes, Skinner played and won the last couple games, but he was not tested. So, I mean, it's really, he could have been bad if they would have gotten some shots on him. Who knows?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big thing. It's no real big confidence in either goaltender right now. And one of them's got to be good. And Skinner's going to be the one to start it for sure. All right, moving over to the Stars. Who do you got? What do you got as an X factor here?
I have to stick with the goaltending because it really is going to lie on the shoulders of Jake Oettinger. Can he be the last line of defense to really hold down the fort against the onslaught that's going to be coming his way? Because the defense is going to do as much as they can to box everybody out. Zach Hyman is going to be directly in his face every chance that he get. McDavid's going to be flying up every possible direction that he can go. Draisaitl is going to be, peeking every backdoor opportunity he can. And every other possible combination you can think of going throughout the Edmonton offense is going to be just peppering the net. And Oettinger has to be at his absolute best. So there can be no lapses. There can be no lazy moves by Oettinger. He has to be as sharp as he possibly can and turn into what were they calling? They were calling him Duncan from the Walrus commercial early on in the playoffs. He's got to become the Walrus once again, and really just turn into that guy to really shut everything down. I'm not saying he's got to put up shutouts for all 4 wins, but sub 4 goals I think can win them these games. Because I'm not sure that they're going to be winning these games by scoring less than probably 4 goals against the as high flying an offense as Edmonton is. I don't think we're going to be seeing 2-1 wins for a lot of this series. I think it's going to be 4-3, 5-3, 5-6 type games for a few of these, and him being up to his standard and making the saves when needed is really what's going to be important, because a lot of them are still going to go in, but it's the key ones that need to stay out.
Yeah, goaltending for both teams then. Looking at it, I mean, yeah, Ottinger is going to be probably, especially on the power play, if he's not good, I mean, you're probably going to and not be in a good spot. So yeah, if Ottinger can be, I think everyone's hoping, if you're a Stars fan, that he becomes like he was against the Flames that won a couple of years ago. He was just couldn't get anything by the guy. So yeah, he can definitely do it, and he's shown. So we'll see what happens in this one. All right. Well, speaking of that, could be one of these guys. Series MVP for this. We'll start with you, Jacob, with the Oilers.
It's going to be Leon Draisaitl or Evan Bouchard. I just don't know which one. Yeah, I'll go Draisaitl just because he'll score more goals and probably some more clutch goals. But between the two of them, take your pick, and that's not even including the best player in the world, Connor McDavid. But yeah, if I had to put a $2 bet down, I would say Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, well, he's definitely been an MVP so far in the playoffs. So yeah, it's a great choice. What else the Stars? There's a lot of choices here. I mean, the obvious one could be Wyatt Johnston, but there's some other guys too. Who do you have for the MVP?
I'd still go with the low-hanging fruit. I think Johnson is the easy pick, and I think he's the right pick because with how much offense is going to have to run through in this series, he's going to be at the forefront of all of it. I think he's going to be a key contributor. I think he's going to be a big contributor, and I think a lot of the goals are still going to run through his stick. So I think some clutch goals are going to run through his stick as well. It's not just going to be a couple of filler goals going in here and there. I think he's gonna be a big player showing up at a big time, and I think he's going to be very noticeable when you really need him to be.
Yeah, I think Johnston is definitely the easy choice. I'm going to keep saying Logan Stankoven because one of these
we all want him to be that
he's
good.
He's going to be the MVP. He's been really good. I mean, has I believe. I don't know how he just has one goal. I think he just has one.
He's got three.
He's got 3 goals.
He's
got
three
goals,
and he's
6 points.
4.
All right. Yeah. He's got 3 goals. So that's pretty
he's
good.
7th on the team in scoring.
There you go. And he's been noticeable almost every game. So that's I wanted to see him against Connor Garland because he's a lot like Garland. It would have been a great matchup to see both of those guys playing against each other, but we'll see it eventually. All right, predictions on this series. I'll stay with you, Jacob, on who do you think is going to win this and how many games?
I think I'm going to go with a more bold prediction. I normally go for longer series and try and play it safe, but I'm going to go bold, and I'm going to say Stars in 5. I think they take it to him hard. I think they take it to him fast. And I think Stuart Skinner buckles under pressure, and I think he gets lit up. And then they go to Pickard after game 2, and they just lose faith in him. And I think they take it in 5.
All right, that was my prediction on our prediction poll that I put. So yeah, I think that's the same for me. What do you got, Jacob, for this one?
I agree, 5-game series, but for the Oilers. I think and I put this on Twitter already, so I'm not just pulling something out of my butt here. But
I can't confirm. You did say it like 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Dallas Stars have nearly enough offense, unless like Rupe Hintz, Logan Stankoven, Matt Duchene, Joe Pavelski, one of these guys really wakes up and starts picking up the slack. I don't think that their offense is even close to good enough. And I think that the Oilers are just going to cook them and just outscore every problem that they have. Like Ottinger's been good. He hasn't been incredible. They do have the good defensive play. Like I really like Essen Lindell. I really like Thomas Harley and obviously Heiskanen and Tanev, who we already talked about. I do like the Dallas Stars defense. I just don't think that they have nearly enough offensively. As of right now, at least. they do have the potential. Like I said, if one of those guys wakes up, or even like Mason Marchment, who hasn't been doing very much, if one of these guys wakes up and really starts producing, maybe that'll change my mind. But as of right now, I'm going Oilers in 5.
All right. Well, short series. We'll see. We'll see what happens and probably is going to be a 7-game series then, now that we've said this.
100%. 100%. Triple overtime, game 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, the East series will be like a sweep because we predicted
right.
long series in that one.
And it's going to be Joe Pavelski to score the triple overtime game winner because we just cooked him for not having any goals. One goal.
Exactly. I'm surprised because he's usually really good in the playoffs, and he hasn't really woken up yet, but don't count that guy out. He's probably going to step up. All right. Well, that's another playoff preview here. We'll see how the series goes. I don't know. I think it could be a fun one to watch, even if it is a 5-game. I think it's still going to be fun. I'm not really sure if it's going to be a tight series or if it's going to be a high scoring one like the Flames Oilers back a couple years ago. Could be that. Who knows? I mean, both teams can score. They've shown it. But lately they've been able to show that they can play defensive games too. So it could go either way. We'll see. Make sure to check out all of our stuff at thehockeywriters.com. We've got a round 3 hub that has all the articles put into one spot. So take a look at that. We got recaps after every game. It's getting down to there's only a game a day now. So we're able to watch hockey every day, but there's only one game. And that starts it started last night. But tonight, make sure checking out the Oilers and the Stars. But until our next preview, which will be the Stanley Cup final, we'll see you then.